The country of Hinomoto was a peaceful human landing until a Kishin descended on it, robbing humans of their freedom and starting its own rule on them. Being powerless, a majority of humans accepted their fate, leaving only a few of them who kept resisting the cruelty descended upon them. These people were labeled as Bushis. After years and years of tyrant rule, people started accepting Kishins as their gods and preaching to the younger ones on thanking them and serving them as a good deed. Bushis were outcasted and considered enemies of the nation. Musashi violently breaks rocks with his pickaxe, channeling his wrath and hatred for the absurd faith they've created in the Kishins. However, when his fellows praise his skills about being the best of the miners and a mining prodigy, he happily agrees with them. After the casual discussion, everyone sits in their lecture and is made to despise the Bushis by telling them made-up historical facts that Bushis were tyrants who made the lives of the agricultural class miserable. It is only Musashi who sits with a troubled expression, not in compassion for the people in the past, but because he knows the reality about who the Bushis were. Flashback to his childhood, when he used to play sword battles with his friend, Kojiro. Kojiro's father told them that the Bushis were the ones who stood up against the Onis and remained steadfast in their motives. Finding it interesting and powerful, Musashi told Kojiro that they would become Bushis together and fight for the freedom of Hinomoto. At the end of the lecture, everyone is told to chant their dreams out loud. Their dreams were a chant infiltrated in their minds ever since they were born, to become the best of the miners and serve their Oni masters. Musashi decides to voice out his real dream loud and clear, but chokes on his words every time he tries. The next day, all of them are to be sent to Tatsuyama Mine to serve their masters. Feeling troubled, Musashi walks to Kojiro's house and tells him he's ready to become a Bushi with Kojiro, as he's been training his pickaxe to use as a sword. Kojiro clenches his teeth, telling Musashi that his father lied about Bushis being heroes. He then calls him out for being a hypocrite and serving as a miner for the Kishins while fooling himself that he's going to be a Bushi. Musashi gets frustrated and leaves after telling Kojiro that he will prove that his real dream is to fight the Onis and be a Bushi. After he leaves, Kojiro looks at him hoping for Musashi to live a normal, peaceful life, unlike that of his as a Bushi. In the evening, Kojiro is called out by the town people for his chained sword, clearly revealing why he'd want Musashi not to become a Bushi. Being a descendant of a Bushi, Kojiro was also treated as an outcast since childhood. All Bushis are enforced by the law to always wear their swords to be identified by people. So, the poor little kid used to drag around a sword twice his size just because his father didn't bow down to the enemies. Kojiro wishes for Musashi to live peacefully by becoming a proper miner, while Musashi vents out his anger on the rocks once again. The next day, all the graduated miners are taken to the Tatsuyama mine, while Musashi walks with the intent to kill one Oni today. The moment the gates close on all these freshly graduated miners, they realize that their so-called paradise is an illusion. Monsters sit in the center as Oni masters, while tired and worn-out miners work on the rocks endlessly. Whoever doesn't perform well gets eaten. So, serving the Oni master till the last breath turns out to be a literal statement. Musashi is internally satisfied that he was right all along and steps forward announcing that he will slay some Onis. The only problem is his pickaxe was taken away from him. The Onis turn more hideous, ready to attack Musashi. Kojiro sits in his house thinking about slaying Onis and imagining Musashi with him in all of this, but, of course, he'd prefer Musashi's life over his wish. Kojiro then notices Musashi's bag from the previous day and opens the notebook only to realize Musashi was training to use the pickaxe as a katana. Musashi picks an average pickaxe and tries to fight an Oni, but is currently getting brutally beaten up. This doesn't mean he's not trying to attack. Even though his mind is questioning him, his steps aren't faltering in his aim. Unfortunately, he gets trapped in the grip of an Oni, but fortunately, he has a best friend who always has his back. Kojiro appears from nowhere on a cool bike, saving Musashi and handing him his cool pickaxe. Ready to show Kojiro how serious he's been all along, he strikes his first attack, severing the Oni in two in one blow. While fighting the Onis like it's no big deal, Musashi tells Kojiro that the reason for him wanting Kojiro to tag along is not because he's scared, but because he wants to celebrate and have fun with Kojiro whenever he achieves something. Suddenly, a strong beam of light shows a mighty Kishin, an Oni boss, descending. Everyone starts retreating while Musashi and Kojiro fight the rest of the Onis, enjoying themselves. As the two travel away from the place, Kojiro thinks about how even in schools the punishment used to be holding a chain katana, as if it's a humiliating thing to do. He used to get bullied a lot about this. So, now, Kojiro is lost as he tells Musashi that he indeed thought about leaving the town, but the promise of becoming the best bushi band ever was something he'd long forgotten. He doesn't seem to find any interest in being a bushi, but Musashi is confident he'll get it once he gets into it. The conversation breaks as they both witness the Kishin that has descended. The Kishin looks like a weird bird. As the two passes by, Musashi strikes the Kishin, cutting it in half. The two stop to wonder if killing a Kishin was that easy, but they get their answers when some intensive-like tentacles appear from each half, regenerating itself. The servants rush to serve Kishin some food that looks like metal or rocks. The Kishin devours them, and the next moment transforms into their true form. The Kishin is Engoku Tengu. He throws the two off their bike and stands tall as everyone praises it for transforming to its true form for the first time in 5 years. Kojiro wonders how they're going to fight it, but panics when he sees Musashi passed out. Tengu bends down and grins at Kojiro, to which he takes out his sword. Kojiro is confused when he witnesses Tengu only holding his sword and trying to get him to leave it. It's when someone mentions that he realizes the Kishin feasts upon swords as well. Everyone around is, however, bewildered at why Kojiro wouldn't leave his sword when he can save his life that easily. Kojiro recalls his childhood when he used to curse the sword and his fate for being a bushi. Hearing him, his father had called him and told him the entire history of how the Kishins took over the world, and only Bushins were brave enough to keep fighting. He called this katana the pride of the Bushis, and told him never to lose it. So, even if Kojiro despised it in the beginning, he just cannot find it in himself to let go of something that is his identity. Kojiro tries with his life to not let go of that sword, while Tengu keeps trying to get a hold of it. Eventually, Tengu uses his other hand to make Kojiro lose his grip on the katana. As Tengu drops it into his mouth, Kojiro slams his fist on the ground, cursing him. The flashback shows that right after he was given the katana back, Musashi walked in, telling Kojiro it was time for their sword practice. At that moment, he was not a friend to Kojiro, but just a random weirdo who walked to his house as if he owned it. But it's only this weirdo who woke up, saw the scenario, and didn't think twice before marching towards the Kishin. He started climbing the last fat Kishin who's currently resting as if it did a lot of hard work. Musashi then starts digging in his stomach as if he's mining and starts dodging the fists of Tengu so that they hit it with its stomach, making it more feasible for him to dig through. Eventually, Musashi actually succeeds in breaking the walls and falling into the stomach. The acid in the stomach seems to be boiling, making others think Musashi died. But it is only until Musashi proudly walks back with the sword in his hand. He hands it back, recalling Kojiro's father told him to keep it safe. The two of them finally come on the same page that they want to be the best bushi band ever and slaughter Onis. Musashi calls killing this Kishin their first accomplishment and the first official start of their journey. But their celebration is deflected by an announcement of a bushi band approaching the place. The Takeda band approaches the place with class, breaking the shield, and enters surrounding the Kishin with smart techniques like flying with the help of their swords. Their leader, Takeda Notara, approaches Musashi and Kojiro, asking them to evacuate for their safety. He tells Musashi that he didn't kill the Kishin as it can be seen that is once again healing itself. After he leaves, Kojiro asks Musashi to leave along, but Musashi is currently enraged by the fact that someone is stealing their accomplishment, something he wants to consider as a milestone in his life. So even though the Kishin is currently spitting fire and Onis are attacking him, he rushes forward to claim his needed victory, while Kojiro wonders what is driving Musashi to this extent. The people of the Takeda band are amused by Musashi while simultaneously worrying about their leader, who worries more about the safety of others than himself. Notara tells them that they aim to save the people from the Kishins, so they cannot ignore their safety. He also shows interest in Musashi, as he seems like the same crazed idiot as Notara. Musashi jumps in head first, wanting to claim the victory that belongs to him, while Kojiro thinks of how they cannot ever act impulsively like him. However, Musashi cannot seem to find a way, as wherever he strikes, Tengu heals itself right away. Suddenly, something ties Musashi and grabs him towards the cliff where Takeda band is residing currently. They tell Musashi not to act so bluntly, as there is no way he can fight the Kishin alone, and he's just going to affect their plan of killing the Kishin by intervening. Musashi seems to be aware of all these facts, and he knows he isn't strong enough, but something inside of him keeps telling him to keep trying, which is why he breaks free from the strong ties and rushes again towards the Kishin. The others try to intervene, but Notara thinks his determination to risk his life makes him a true bushi. The Takada band prepares in harmony to target the attack at the core horn of the Kishin, which is heard by Kojiro. Musashi's intervention attack on the Takada band is missed by the target, but before Musashi can think of how to defeat this monster, Kojiro calls him out to aim for the core horn. This call from Kojiro at a crucial moment satisfies him, and he can move ahead since he's not alone and has a cold-headed friend to watch his back. Musashi aims right at the core horn, and indeed there is something cut off and falling, but sadly it's not the horn but Musashi's pickaxe. The Kishin moves forward to attack Musashi, who is currently unarmed and bewildered, so it's good that Notara came forward with an apology that he's going to steal Musashi's victory. With one strike, the horn splits, killing the mighty Engoku Tengu. As the body decomposes, the Takada band absorbs Kishin's powers. All of this shows how inexperienced and unaware Musashi and Kojiro are, but that doesn't mean that they don't have the right to feel frustrated at losing the prize they had their sights on. After the victory, Notara claims in front of everyone that he will save the country by killing all of the Kishin and Onis. The captured servants try to defend themselves, but Notara reasons that in every way the Onis want the people to have their lives revolve around them, which isn't fair at all. Kojiro is impressed by watching the determination live, which his father had always narrated to him. Musashi still feels frustrated, as he wanted his efforts to get him this appreciation, but it was all taken away from him. Notara walks up to them, making Musashi wonder if he should act mature or show his frustration. At first, he tries to play it nicely, but upon Takeda people teasing him and belittling him to feel grateful towards Notara, he lashes out in front of everyone that he feels frustrated for his prize being stolen. Poor guy is sadly seen as an amusing weirdo by everyone for this. Notara praises his guts and gives him a crystal. Musashi asks about it, bewildered, but his bewilderment once again turns into annoyance when Notara jokes about it being his consolation prize and leaves. The night falls, but Kojiro can still hear Musashi whining and groaning about the scenario like a child. He's about to throw the crystal when he notices it's a kaleidoscope. The posture makes Kojiro recall seeing one of them in the ancient scriptures of his father. They open the scriptures and images look through them. First, they figure out that the crystal shows them the Onis, making it easier to find their next target. Second, they find the names and history of the Kishins. Thirdly, they figure out what Notara's aim is. The scripture says that the country will be unified once all the Kishins are killed, and the one who kills the strongest Kishin will become the immediate ruler of Hinamoto. Musashi rushes out to where Notara currently is and tells him he figures Notara wants the country to be unified once again. Notara tells him he won't be able to defeat all the Kishins, making Musashi retort with the Takada band not doing it yet either. Musashi claims that he's also going to try and kill every Kishin possible to free Hinamoto, which is supported by Notara and the rest of the band. The next day, Kojiro and Musashi prepare to head out of the town and travel around the world that they've never seen before. Musashi's minor friends wish him luck. As the two start their journey in the big wide world, Musashi expresses his gratitude that he met Kojiro and his father and learned swordsmanship, or he might not have been in this position right now. This is followed by a glimpse of a girl sitting casually near a lake while outside humming a tune as if it's the safest place ever. Thanks for watching, and don't hesitate to comment for part 2. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe for more content. Also, remember to hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest updates. Stay tuned for our next video, and until next time, take care.